Hello, welcome to the Office of Image Archaeology and this first episode of my new YouTube video series, Sacramento Time Traveler. I am George Myhall, your host. In this first episode, I'll be sharing with you rare photographs I've discovered over the last 20 years. In this episode, we'll be looking at photos of movie theaters long gone from the Sacramento landscape. I will be posting high-definition copies of these images to my Patreon channel for subscribers there to be able to do their own research. It is only $3 per month and you'll have access to everything that is exhibited here on the Sacramento Time Traveler. I couldn't find a better image to start this off with. Theaters, old and new, have this in common: advertising. The only difference is the way it is presented. Here is an example of what was seen in one Sacramento movie theater during the silent era. This could only be better if it were in color. I'm only going to point out a few individual elements in this photo because in truth I'd love to spend a whole lot more time than what this video will allow. Zooming into the center is the Eastern Outfitting Company at 1024 to 1028 J Street, proclaiming good clothes for both genders, men and women. These folks are paying the big bucks with the largest ad on the canvas. Next to it on the left is an ad for a very rare Veli automobile. To tell you the truth, I'd never heard of this manufacturer until discovering this photo. Veli was an American automobile producer in Moline, Illinois from 1908 to 1928. The company was founded by Willard Veli, who was a maternal grandson of John Deere. He founded a carriage company in 1902 and then went on to cars and even airplanes with a model called the Veli Monocoupe monoplane. I love this ad for a hot barbecue sandwich at the Red Bull that was located at 1106 J Street. Then here's an ad for the Hotel Senator, and there is everything for the smoker at the Hippodrome cigar store at 1005 K Street. I love this one. Drink Tacoma Brew, 60 miles an hour, proclaimed as best east or west. I'm going to point out only one more, this one particularly because I have a photograph of the place. Harry E. Glee, I think that's how you say it, it's Gleie. At any rate, at 1016 8th Street, but I'm thinking that he may have moved around the corner in the same building by this time to 7829 K Street. If you look at the bottom below the advertising area, you'll see where the orchestra sat. I have my suspicions, but it's possible that this was the Hippodrome Theater during the silent era. I would love to spend more time here, but unfortunately we really have to move on. First, I'd like to make the disclaimer. This is not a video about the history of movie theaters in Sacramento. I make this statement in an effort to avoid the onslaught of, you forgot this, or what about this or that. This video is about photos and film of theaters that I have personally discovered, owned, and digitized. In only one case is this not true, and we'll get to that soon enough. Right now, let's look at the Capitol Theater at 615 K Street. Originally opened in 1906 as the T&D Theater, the building was remodeled and in August of 1923 rebranded as the Capitol Theater. That lasted a good many years, showing mostly moral films where sex and violence were left more to the imagination of the viewer than the visual displays of debauchery and dismemberment on the screen, and was fortunate to end its life in 1957 as a respectable movie house. The fate of many of these Sacramento theaters was not so kind. Many of these would end their silver screen years tarnished and ugly as seedy adult film movie houses as older neighborhoods began to decay and crumble. The Hippodrome Theater opened on April 29, 1918, and ran both vaudeville acts and films into the late 1920s. Here in this photograph, taken in the spring of 1945, Ida Lupino stars in Pillow to Post, and Son of Lassie with Peter Lawford and June Lockhart are playing. The war is almost over, and for a time, America is united and patriotism thrives. In 1946, the theater was all but destroyed by a fire, and a new theater called the Crest was built within what was left of the walls of the old Hippodrome. The Crest Theater opened in October of 1949 and is still an active theatrical venue, entertaining crowds in Sacramento today. This photo of the Crest was taken in late December of 1954. 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea was released on December 23, 1954. I have to say that the Christmas decorations on K Street here make this photograph look so inviting. This was the location of the old Starlight Drive-In just off of Business 80 in Sacramento. Its address was 2200 Harvard Street. The drive-in had a capacity for 924 cars in its single-screen venue when this aerial photograph was taken in 1971. Later, a second screen was added, but now this is a site of a Hilton hotel. Originally opened simply as the Drive-In in West Sacramento, March of 1946, it had a single screen that could accommodate 780 cars. The new name El Rancho Drive-In was given in March of 1950. 13 years later, it was turned into a trailer park. The Studio Theater began life in 1946 next door to the Esquire Theater on K Street in Sacramento. This photo was probably taken about 1950 as the movie I Was a Male War Bride was released in 1949 and the movie Broken Arrow in 1950. Later it was renamed the Capri in 1957 and then the Encore Theater before being turned into another adult theater run by Pussycat Theater Chain in 1975 and would show adult films until it was mostly demolished. You know how far downhill things must have gotten in downtown Sacramento when an adult theater moves in. Both the Esquire and Studio Theater met the same fate and are part of the first floor decor in the Esquire Plaza office building at 1213 to 1215 K Street today. The Rio Movie Theater on the right-hand side in this photograph has quite a history. It was first opened as Goddard's J Street Theater in 1915. In 1930, it was renamed the Sutter Theater. In 1933, again, it was renamed the El Rey Theater, and you can see evidence of that at the top of the building. In 1941, there was a fire, and after being repaired, it was rechristened as the Rio Theater in 1942. 20 years later, the neighborhood had changed, and it was playing movies from south of the border. Mexican movies played there until it was renamed once again to the Cinema Theater and began hosting live burlesque as well as adult films in the 1960s. But the old theater did not have long to suffer, as its destruction was also in the late 1960s. Our last theater is far and above my favorite. The Alhambra Theater opened in 1927 and graced the Sacramento landscape as a bright and shiny place of wonder and imagination for 46 years. In 1973, it was replaced with a Safeway grocery store. The only thing left from that wondrous edifice is the fountain at the south end of the Safeway parking lot at 1025 Alhambra Boulevard. The film you are watching here was digitized by me several years ago and was shot in 1973 by a gentleman named Jim Lane, whose incredible website should be visited by anyone that loves old Hollywood. If you missed the golden age of the silver screen, you need to visit Jim Lane's Cinedrome. It can be found at jimlanecinedrome.com, and I'll put a link to that in the description box below. We're going to run up and down Highway 80, the Capital City Freeway between Capitol Avenue and J Street, and you can see the Alhambra Theater off the side of the freeway here. The car got a flat tire, but riding shotgun eyes, someone like you. So every day when the alarm blows my ears, I see you slipping on the bars and clears, and every time everything seems to go wrong. You know your voice sounds just like a song. The rain sings, the cup smiles, it finds me blue with stars. The car got a flat tire, but riding shotgun eyes, someone like you. Someone like you, take something bad, give it a spin and turn it on its head. Someone like you, it's worth like gold. After they made you this simply road. I use Google Earth a lot, and someplace in this film I'm sure I used Google Earth. So I want to thank those folks, but more important, I'd like to thank the folks that host the website over at Cinema Treasures at cinematreasures.org. Without that website, the photos I'm sharing with you today would be very uninteresting, as we would have no idea what they were all about. I thank you for allowing me to share with you this first episode of the Sacramento Time Traveler, brought to you by the Office of Image Archaeology. If you like doing your own research, don't forget to subscribe to my Patreon channel so you have access to the high-definition photographs and film used to create these videos. Also, remember to subscribe and click that notification bell so you won't miss the next episode. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon on the Sacramento Time Traveler.